Rom the first steps out of Africa to journeys to the moon. Migration has transformed human history. It is one of the oldest and most complex phenomena, driven by hunger, fear, hope, and the longing for freedom. But why do people migrate? Is it an instinctive impulse? Is it a logical act? Or is it both? Immigration is linked to human nature itself. Since prehistoric times, human beings have moved to survive, to find fertile land, to escape conflict, or simply to seek a better life. This need to find food, or freedom stems not only from logic, but from the passions of the soul. Emotions such as fear, hope, and desire push us forward, while reason guides the journey. The desire to migrate is born more from the soul than from reason, although that doesn't make it irrational. Even the most emotional decisions often contain a logical analysis. One doesn't leap into the void without considering, at least minimally, what can be gained. This blend of emotion and reason makes migration a profoundly human phenomenon, and therefore a very complex one. Our passions may be chaotic, but reason organizes and transforms them. Thus, fear becomes prudence, hope becomes the impulse to seek a more dignified life. Migrating isn't about repressing emotions, nor simply doing what one desires. It's about guiding those emotions toward what is truly worthwhile. Migrating is both a rational and emotional act. Throughout history, migrations have not only displaced peoples, but have changed entire civilizations by combining elements of different cultures. The Jewish diaspora, for example, had a profound impact on the religion of the Roman Empire. The Great Migrations to the American continent gave rise to the birth of new nations. Interestingly, many societies that reject immigration today are a direct product of it. The United States would not exist without immigrants, yet it is among the first to close its doors to new waves of migration. Rejection of immigration isn't always based on economic or political reasons. Often, it's a cultural conflict, religious, linguistic, or value differences that arouse fear. The problem isn't just what the immigrant does or doesn't do, but what they represent, what's different. And this rejection isn't always born from reason, but from emotions, fear of the unknown, wounded pride, insecurity. When these emotions aren't reflected upon, prejudice, stereotypes, and exclusion are born. At this point, it's worth asking, do we open up or close ourselves off to others? Do we build bridges or walls? There are no simple solutions. What if you were the immigrant? How prepared are we to live with difference? Fear and rejection aren't always irrational. Sometimes they arise from the fear of disrupting social harmony, of the fear that the arrival of others will generate tensions in already established cultures. In Christian thought, it is said that a human being's identity lies not in the land of their birth, but in their dignity. Immigrants are seen as brothers and sisters. They are not judged by their place of origin, but rather their humanity is valued. Every person, migrant or not, possesses an intrinsic dignity that must be respected. However, the changes brought about by immigration sometimes generate legitimate concerns about the preservation of cultural and social identities. This is not new. It has been a constant throughout history. A clear example of these tensions is the expulsion of Jews from various kingdoms over the centuries, from Spain in 1492, from England in 1290, from France on multiple occasions, from Portugal in 1497, from Italy during the 15th and 16th centuries, from Germany, from Russia, and even more recently, from Arab countries after the creation of the State of Israel. In almost all of these cases, religious, political, or economic motives were cited, but at their core, we find the same tension. What is ours versus what is different? Every state needs a certain level of cohesion to sustain itself. When many different cultures are grouped under the same system, the risk of collapse increases, as was the case with the Austro-Hungarian Empire. If it is not administered with justice and equity, if a government blames another group for its ills, it can justify expulsions not out of reason, but out of fear. But there are also cold and calculated decisions, such as the expulsion of the Jews from Castile, which sought religious unity to reinforce the power of the Catholic monarchs and the Church. However, is this fair? Doesn't it deny the human dignity of others, reducing the individual to their religion or culture? A society that represses or expels diversity runs the risk of becoming unstable, generating internal resistance, or stagnating due to a lack of cultural exchange. History teaches us that neither diversity without cohesion nor unity without openness is sustainable in the long term. The balance between the two is essential. A community that sees difference as an advantage, where each person thinks and acts differently, is more innovative than one that excludes those who think differently. Neither absolute rejection nor the naive idealization of diversity are adequate solutions. So, how can we coexist without becoming enemies? This is where the problem reveals its most human dimension. Expulsions leave consequences not only for those expelled, but also for those expelled. Order, unity, or purity may be gained, but something much more difficult to recover is lost: culture. Today, the idea of an ethnically homogeneous society is nearly obsolete. Very few countries truly are, and even they allow the entry of tourists or foreign workers. However, as globalization dissolves cultural boundaries, a new challenge arises. How do we integrate newcomers into the local culture without losing it in the process? How do we welcome immigrants without losing who we are? And above all, how do we live together without becoming enemies? Immigration is not just a political issue, it's a deeply human one. Every migrant is a person with dignity, dreams, and fears. History shows us that exclusion leads to loss, while openness leads to growth. So, we must ask ourselves, if you were the migrant, how would you want to be treated? What kind of world do we want to build? One full of walls, or one full of bridges?